Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Includability Shorts, a series of short, snappy chats stuffed with hot tips from our incredible Includability partner experts. I'm delighted to be joined by the wonderful Kate Latrobe, Neurodiversity and Inclusion Specialist, and of course one of our brilliant Includability. Kate, it's wonderful to see you as always, and I wondered if you'd be able to share what steps you feel companies should be considering to enable a workplace to become neuro-inclusive.
100%. And Dave, thank you so much for having me. I think I am Includability's top fan. And we've got some links and drinks coming up soon, which is so exciting. So basically, I always start with 1 in 7 people are neurodivergent, right? So that is a lot of people. However, when it comes to workplace and employees, only 37% of employees feel that their workplace actually provides meaningful neurodivergent support. So if you think about that 1 in 7 person, that is a really small number of people who actually feel that they are getting meaningful support. So when I work with companies, the first step that I ask, or the first question that I ask, is, are people disclosing? And a lot of the time people will say, or managers will say, or HR will say, yes, but not enough, or no. And I always say, if they're not disclosing, why are they not disclosing? It's not because you don't have neurodivergent employees. Is it because you are truly inclusive? And that's amazing if you are. But oftentimes it's not. It's maybe that you are hiring for culture fit, whereas you should be hiring for culture add. So are you looking for the same people? So people who do come in that are feeling different may not feel safe enough to kind of say that they have that they are neurodivergent or they need extra support. So I'd always say number one would be to kind of come in so curious, ask why people are disclosing, why people are not disclosing. So it goes both ways. It's that asking why always. I'd always say bring in an anonymous survey to kind of gauge how your employees are experiencing work, the support, and don't rely on an open door policy. So the amount of times that I hear, oh, we have an open door policy so people feel that they can come to us with anything. Your neurodivergent employees are not going to come to you with an open door policy. It's really vague, right? So number one would be to ask that question, why? Why are people disclosing? Why are they not disclosing? That curiosity. So number two would be to start the conversation. Get some training in, get some speakers in to come share their lived experience. When you're creating a space of vulnerability where people are sharing their lived experiences, it creates a space where other people will be wanting to share their experiences too. So normalize the conversation. Don't just do training sessions once off. When you create an advocacy group, which you should be creating an advocacy group, don't expect your neurodivergent individuals just to run it. So if someone discloses and you create an advocacy group, don't come in and say, hey, you have ADHD, you're going to run our advocacy group. Ask them if they want to, but also have some people who maybe are not neurodivergent or who do not kind of who do not kind of relate to the kind of different neurodivergences. Constantly challenge any stigmas. It's important to remember that true inclusivity doesn't look the same for everyone, right? So then number three would be to start with the top-down approach. So once you've started the conversation, you've got some general neurodiversity training and awareness in for the whole organization. Start with top down. So that's your senior management team. They likely create and influence the culture, right? So if they don't know or understand how to manage with neurodivergence in mind, your organization will likely stay the same. And then number four would be, and this is a really important one, is have really clear policies. So an EDI policy, which is in the UK or out of the UK, DEI policy, it is really important. But I'd go one step ahead and to say, do you have a reasonable adjustment policy? So this clearly outlines how employees disclose, who they disclose to, what that process looks like, and what reasonable adjustments are available to employees. So with your neurodivergent individuals in mind, it's really important that you have really clear communication. So no ambiguous terms like an open door policy that's very vague, that's ambiguous, right? So you have really clear communication. So what does your disclosure process look like? How do you do it? When do you do it? Who do you do it by or to? And then also what reasonable adjustments are available to employees. So is this time flexibility? Is this a hybrid policy? Is this having your speaker off as you're going through meetings to help you listen? Is it walking around to help you listen? And this can even be done during your interview process. So it's not only once you've got employees onboarding or in your organization, you can show people that you are truly inclusive through your interview process. And I always say it's so helpful to be open and to be explicit, and say how you can kind of adapt the interview process. So don't just say when you're inclusive, you can disclose that if you need any reasonable adjustments. What you can do is you say, hey, we're inclusive, these are the reasonable adjustments we have available, because sometimes when it's again open and when you don't have like some clear-cut choices, it can be really overwhelming and people may not feel that they are able to disclose. So that would be number 4. And again, it's so important to realize that what works for one person is not going to work for every person. So it is going to look different for everyone. And that's why I almost say having like a choice available where you can pick apart, and when your managers understand, then they can pick apart and they can create what works for a person. So we're wanting to work with everyone's brains, not just one person's brain, right? And that's where your culture add versus culture fit comes in really nicely. And then the last thing, number 5, would be to notice that to create a truly inclusive place, or a neuro-inclusive space, that I like to say, it's not just focusing on kind of the physical that you can see. And I always break it up into kind of 6 key things. So we've got physical inclusion. So this looks like your disability, your accessibility. So do you have ramps? But it's also kind of a sensory component. So what is the lighting like in your office? What is the sound like in your office? What are the smells like in your office? Are you noticing these? Then it's emotional inclusion as well. Are you creating a space where your ADHDer, who may have a big emotional outburst once they've gotten a feedback, even if it's positive feedback, are you creating a space that they can come down and regulate, right? Then it's the cognitive differences, so a cognitive inclusion. So some people may prefer to get communication in the form of an email or a text message or a voice note. And having on your video training models, do you have closed captions so it's accessible to everyone? Is your website accessible to everyone? So explaining what's in the images and having different forms or different means of communication. And that leads into the communication inclusion. So understanding that your ADHDers or your autistic individuals are likely going to experience feedback really differently. Do you have a lot of sarcasm going on, some hidden social expectations? Are you giving very direct feedback, which is maybe not working for your ADHD, which also then leads into your social inclusion. So are you just doing after work drinks, or are you just having one form of social interaction in the office, and if someone wants to come and join, it's actually not accessible for them? Or if they need to take their lunch break to kind of decompress from the morning, and then looking at them and saying, maybe this person isn't a great culture fit because they're not joining our lunch. It's just noticing all the different kind of spaces that we can include. So again, it's that physical inclusion, the sensory inclusion, the emotional inclusion, cognitive inclusion, social and communication inclusion. And then at the end of it all, so once I've spoken to an organization, whether it's your starting point or you midway through, take a deep breath. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to start. And there are so many incredible people that can be there to support. So I could be one of them, but there are so many incredible neuro-inclusion specialists or DI specialists that can be there to support. And you probably are going to get something wrong, but you learn from that. And that is the best thing about it, is that learning component.
Oh, my
So
word,
thank
Kate.
you.
Kate, thank you. Honestly, you're absolutely wonderful, for sharing your knowledge, and a joy, just an absolute joy to catch up with you as always. And to everyone who has just watched our latest Includability short, thank you again so much for joining us. And for more of these light bulb moments, please do head over to our weareincludability.co.uk website, or check out our YouTube channels. Let's keep learning, let's keep growing, and let's keep making our workplaces more inclusive, diverse, and mentally healthy together. Have a wonderful day, everyone.